we are back for another review of P-Valley. We are on season 2, episode 6. I'm just gonna jump right into it. It's entitled Savage. Aptly titled, I guess, but we'll get into it. This episode is a little bit heavy. There are conversations that deal with mental health awareness, suicide. I don't know if you can say that on YouTube or if I'm gonna get blocked, but if I do, I do. We'll see. Anyway, those type of topics. So if it's that sensitive, this might not be the video for you to watch. This one's gonna be intense. So I'm gonna try to get through all this other stuff very quickly so I can get to the climax of the episode. All right, so we open with Diamond and Big Booty, and they are doing what grown people do. They're getting down to business, doing what they do. And Diamond is struggling because he's having visions of Keyshawn, like her face is appearing on Big Booty's body and things like that. And so he's trying to get the visions of Keyshawn out of his head. And I don't know if it's because he feels guilty, about not being able to save Keyshawn, or he's in love with Keyshawn. I don't know. It's a lot of people that appear to be in love with Keyshawn, but we'll get into that later. All right. So Big Booty, she seems to have a problem because they've been hooking up for some span of time now, and every time he reaches his climax, he empties his load in a condom, and she is upset. She wanna go raw dog, and he's like, "No, you crazy as hell. I'm not doing that. What's wrong with you?" And so they get over that conversation, and they're just talking. He's in another part of the apartment or wherever they're at, and she sees a ring. She sees Montavious' ring on the dresser. And in that moment when she saw that ring, I felt like she's a spy. Because remember, Montavious told Autumn, like, listen, like, I got people out here watching. If I don't show up, somebody gonna come look for me, basically like that. So I feel like Big Booty might be a plant down to the pink to figure out what happened to Montavious, because he never came back or whatever the situation is. Anyway, that's just what I think. Anyway, so he tells her, like, girl, you don't want nothing to do with that ring. Like, if you don't want to get hexed, you better leave that ring alone. It's for my protection. It's for everybody's protection at this point. Don't touch it. And then he goes to tell her about a space tournament that he has to work security for tonight. I don't know why he did that, because that gives her free reign to come back to your place, because I think they're at his place. So that's going to give her free reign to come back to your place to snoop around or whatever it is that she may be there to do. But we'll go with it. And she asked him, like, why you don't work at the pink no more? You must have been trying to save a hoe that wasn't ready to be saved. Yes and no. He tried to save Keyshawn, but, she stood up for Derek and didn't allow him to help her. And I guess he kind of stood up for Autumn by way of chopping his body up and disposing of it. So I guess he tried to save two hoes that wasn't ready, because Autumn not ready because she's still conniving and sneaking and trying to, basically steal the pink from up under everybody. And Keyshawn, child, still with Derek. And this episode, she's gonna piss me off a little bit, but I understand the cycle of trauma. So I'm gonna let you have it. All right, so he was like, well, who told you that? And of course, we know that she overheard the girls talking about it at the pink, but she claims that it's his eyes. They're heavy, and more times than not, when they're together, they're closed. So the next time we get down, you better have your eyes open. And in this scene, I just learned that this ring is going to be way more problematic than it needs to be. If you are going to have something so valuable in your home, maybe don't put it on the dresser beside the lotion. Like, put it somewhere else. Put it in the closet. Put it in the vent. Like, put it somewhere else. It's still near you. You can still have your altar or whatever it is, but just don't have it out for public consumption. Because now there's a bunch of people that's seen it. Autumn, Mercedes, Uncle Clifford, now Big Booty. Like, it's just too many people that's seen this ring, which is also evidence at this particular point. So, yeah. Moving right along. All right, so outside people are partying. I thought it was a video shoot, but it's not. It's just people outside, black people and outside, doing donuts and things that people do to entertain themselves. And Teak sees Murder, pulling up to the scene in this little custom car, camel print or whatever the print is on the car. And Teak is looking at him like the Lord himself just came back. This is how he's looking at Murder, like just a vision of beauty. And he, is just looking at him. Of course, you in the crowd, so you gotta keep that pushed down. But Murder gets out of the car and he gives the car to Teak. And he tells him, Murder gives a speech about, this is my friend. He held us down. He held us down on the inside, and now it's my turn to hold him down on the outside. And so Teak gets in the car and he is full of emotion. I mean, he was barely able to close that car door before his eyes was full of tears. Like, he could not hold it together. And Murder's like, listen, we out here in front of all these people. Like, you supposed to be secure. Like, basically, like tough that shit up. Problematic, because if that man want to cry, let him cry. Stop. Don't make him dry his tears. If he want to show some emotion, that's what the fuck he want to do. And he's a murderer. Nobody's going to do nothing to say nothing to him about it. So let that man live. But anyway, dry that shit up. We good. Just pull it together. And he is boo-hoo crying. And then you can see immediately he's gotten so used to cutting off his emotions. It was like a switch turned off. Like, he was boo-hoo face crying. And then he was like, he snapped into savage mode, and then starts doing his donuts and getting back to the festivities. All right, Big L and Uncle Clifford, they done cut the water off mid shower because Autumn is there taking a shower. She lives there, but you ain't paid no utilities. You ain't paid nothing to be here. You trying to sell my club from up under me, but you ain't using up my utilities. Well, what's tea? And so they realized that she got this ball gown all laid out, and she has this really fancy event that she needs to go to, and they playing games with the hot water. Cut the water on, because I ain't got time to be playing with y'all. All right, and Uncle Clifford is just so upset. He getting to the point where he want to kill her ass too. And Big L's like, listen, Uncle Clifford's like, listen, I really want to kill this bitch. And Big L's like, listen, we got enough blood on our hands. And Uncle Clifford reminds him, yeah, we do, but she ain't got enough on hers. Which lets me know, like, everybody in that room that night went to bat for Autumn. And in return, she's trying to steal the club from under him. That's how she's repaying them for freeing her of her pimp or whatever he was to her, chopping the body up for her, killing him for her. This is how she repays the crew by trying to steal the club from up under him. And so, again, Uncle Clifford says, after all we did for her, she want to put the club back on the auction block. Like, I'm not feeling that shit though. And so, and then to make matters worse, the AC must be going out because it's going to run them a few more $1,000s to fix it, combined with the $11,000 that he still needs to give the commissioner to pay that fee. So shit is just piling up. It's just piling up at this point as it relates to the pink. All right, so Big L pulls up a space tournament flyer that on Instagram or somewhere that's happening at the pink, and Whisper is throwing it, and he had no idea about it. So Uncle Clifford is like, listen, remind me to sue these hoes for copyright infringement at some point. Yes, please do, because there's a whole lot of pink sponsored events that the pink don't know nothing about. You should probably get the legal aspect of this place in order. It should have been in order maybe when your grandma gifted you the place, but better late than never. All right, cool. All right, so Uncle Clifford wants to go to the cops and basically turn Autumn in her role in Montavious' death. But she didn't pull the trigger. She didn't bury nobody. Like, their hands are kind of tied. But you got to think about it this way. Like, do you want to get rid of her so bad that you're willing to go down with the ship? By that meaning, you were also there as a witness. At a minimum, you were impeding an investigation or whatever the charge would be. So you can't snitch on her without snitching on everybody that was in that room. So y'all got to find another way to get rid of Miss Autumn at this point. All right, so moving right along. Teak is getting a haircut, and the barber asks Thaddeus. The barber asks him, like, Thaddeus is his name. Thaddeus / Teak / bodyguard. What are you gonna do now that you out? And he was like, shit, I'm just trying to stay out. That's really my only goal. And while that's happening, it learns that Rome is dead as hell, and the blogs, he's trying to figure out what for, but the blogs hadn't told nobody what he died from yet, that he's perished. Keep that in mind. Rome dead, we don't know why yet. And so the barber is still talking, and he tells Murder, like, you need to put Thaddeus on a record, like, he got skills too, whatever, and they just small talk about that. Somebody calls Murder's phone, and it's Keyshawn, and they're talking, and he's like, listen, Keyshawn, I know we getting back to the tour. Wardy is working on something to get us back on the road soon. And she's like, listen, Murder, something happened in Atlanta. And she tells him about the attempted rape by Rome, and then he's like, well, shit, fuck him. I'm glad he dead then, if that's the case, if that's how he rolling. And Keyshawn is kind of coming to the realization like she may have indirectly had a role in him dying or being murdered, whatever happened to him, because she also told Murder like, hey, I told Wardy that Rome knew about you, you know, being with men, and you know, just talking about it. And then he was like, well, what do you mean he knew? And he was unable to finish the conversation because Derek, old stupid ass, walks in, and you know, she has to hurry off the phone. Side note, as I was perusing the TikTok of one of them social media platforms, I saw that Rico is, if in last season, Lil Murder beat up somebody named Rico in the club because he was basically trying to out Murder, because I think they were all in jail together, right? And so Murder stumped his ass out in the club or whatever. And then keep in mind that Rico was also talking to Rome in the strip club that night, like on the first leg of the tour early on. So somebody came, I can't take credit, but somebody came to the deduction out there on the World Wide Web that Rico probably gave a tape of Uncle Clifford and Murder to Rome, because the writers have confirmed like whoever is on the tape is not Teak. So your only other reasonable assumption would be it was Uncle Clifford, because Rico also frequented the Pink at the time that they were hooking up. So that's probably what happened, and how Rome got the tape. So now we got to kill Rico, essentially. All right. So Keyshawn tells Derek like, oh, that was just Murder asking about Rome's funeral, and Derek claims, oh yeah, I saw that, and he was such a good guy. We're getting you all these deals and whatever, and of course he don't know what happened between Rome and Keyshawn, but you could see how her countenance changes, and she kind of gets a little sad, because you know it would, if it were me, it would hurt my feelings to hear my partner praising somebody that had violated me, but he doesn't really know. But how bad would Derek really feel as many times as he done violated Keyshawn himself? So there ain't really no point in telling him. I mean, Rome's dead. He just as bad. Ain't no point in telling him about what Rome potentially did to you. It is what it is at this point. He dead. He's not a threat no more. All right. And he's going to put in somebody's fire pit or something, and he asks her if she want to come help. And she's like, no, I don't. What he is doing, he's doing that in an attempt to keep an eye on her, because he know he don't whoop that girl ass and she getting tired and she about to run. So he want to keep her, you know, within arm's reach. That's really what that was about. And so yeah, that's what that was. All right. Teak and Murder are talking, and he reminds Murder in this short scene, he reminds Murder that, you know, life is short. And Murder's like, I don't know if Murder sensed that something was off with Teak, or if they were just legitimately hanging around. Because sometimes you can pick up like when something's not right, you know, with your people, and you want to spend a couple extra minutes with them. So he's like, listen, I ain't ready to go home. Let's just ride around the hood and let's kick it for a little bit. So that's what they commenced to doing. Meanwhile, Mercedes is at Shell's house. She brought them some groceries, because we know, you know, they're struggling. Shell doesn't have a job, and she just drinking her life away because she don't have a job. And, you know, just the burden of having to be Terica's parent, raise Terica in this moment. She just has a lot going on. So Sadie's is there to get some groceries with her David Banner hoodie on. I enjoy seeing that on the show. Go back and look at it if you haven't seen it. It's the red, black, and green fist. That's David Banner's design. Anyway, ain't shit in the refrigerator, and ain't shit in the refrigerator, and what is in there is rotten as hell. So, you know, that's an indication like shit is really tough out here. However, the trash can is full of liquor bottles. So why you ain't got no job? You still finding a way to afford your habits. I see. I mean, I guess you got to cope how you cope. And Mercedes is like, you know, Shell, do you have a problem? She's like, listen, I ain't got no problem. All I need is a job. Once I get a job, that'll solve all these problems. But not no job down at the club. Not no job like, you know, what you got. So don't worry about me. And she was like, Shell, do you realize that you were so drunk last time I was here that you called Terica a mistake? And she can't fathom the thought of her having had said that where that child could hear her, because while she is while Terica wasn't planned and while Terica was, a side mistress's baby, she had love for Terica, so she would have never wanted to say that if she was in her sober mind. So now she's upset that she's said that while that girl could hear it last time because she was so drunk. All right. And Mercedes is like, listen, I can take her for a little while. I can help you out. Like, let me help you. And she is like, Mercedes, I see what you're trying to do. You're not going to get custody back. You're not going to get custody back because there's a difference between a mother and a parent. And I ain't letting her go without a fight. And Mercedes is like, nothing I do will ever be enough. Like, I'm trying, Shelly, but nothing is ever going to be enough. And, yeah. So, okay. Slow down. All right, that's cool. That's fine. But wouldn't that be fair? Like, if she took Terica back, your issue is you don't have a job. The burden of being a teenager's parent at this current juncture is too much for you to handle. Mercedes is making money at the club, so she's the current breadwinner in the situation. So would it not hurt you to maybe let it stay a week? Maybe let it stay a month? Ain't nobody saying sign the court papers back over, because on paper you would still be her legal guardian. But if the break is being offered, what's the problem? Also, that's for you, Shell. On the other side, if I was Mercedes, if I knew how you was grimy and you and my mama kind of co-conspired to take my child from me, I would be willing to get my get back. By way of, I done been over here 2 or 3 times and nothing but look over here. My child done been caught driving underage, like all these different things. These are documentable offenses that could garner her, favor with the judge to get her daughter back. But like Mercedes is well aware of, no court is going to give a stripper a child back. So maybe not very probable or likely, but possible, I guess. I don't know. All right. So, she's trying to call Terica, she's not answering, and then the coach calls in, and he's like, are you ready to finish up that Mercedes experience? Fallon can't stop talking about you. And Mercedes like, I don't know why. Now, we all know why, but she, playing dumb, like, I don't know why, but I'm coming. And he's like, listen, just oblige my wife one more time, and when my wife is happy, I'm happy, you happy, the money gonna keep flowing, essentially. So Murder and Teak are at a wing spot, and the bartender's like low-key flirting with Teak/Thaddeus, and Murder getting kind of jealous. He's like, girl, go get you some water with your thirsty self. Go on about your business. And, tells him, like, I was worried about you. You haven't had appetite for a while. Like, you good? And Murder asks him, like, is this a date? And Teak is like, I never would have thought we would have an opportunity to have a proper date. Like, the supply closet in prison wasn't really good enough for you, boys. So, this whole day is just filling up Teak's soul. Like, he's getting a car. He's having a date with his love, and it's just giving. He's living the perfect day. Essentially, this day is perfect for Teak. Okay, all right. So he was like, but you've moved on now, and as you should have. I didn't expect you to wait for me. The whole world, it seems to have moved on while I was locked up. So he's like, well, who is Uncle Clifford, or what is Uncle Clifford? And Murder's trying to get him to understand, because when he went in prison years ago, pronouns and different things weren't as openly discussed, so he has no understanding. He doesn't know what it is. And he tells him that Uncle Clifford is not a he. She prefers to be called a she. Uncle Clifford prefers she. And Teak asks him, like, why? He's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying I understand, but I just accept it. And that was a mess. That was a word. He didn't understand. He just accepts it. That's the long and the short. That's how I feel about it. Like, you don't have to understand. You don't have to have a working knowledge. You don't have to be a specialist. You don't have to have a PhD in simple human comprehension. By that, I mean, if somebody wants you to call them Red Ribbon, just call them Red Ribbon. You don't have to understand why they want to be called a Red Ribbon. Just call them a goddamn Red Ribbon. And it's okay. Like, you don't have to understand. You don't have to preach about what these people want to be called. It's like having a nickname. Your name might be Thaddeus, right? But you prefer to be called Big T. Preference. It is just what I want for my life. That's the long and the short. That was a nice little message right there too. You don't have to understand. Just accept it, respect it, move on, go on about your business. Pretty much. All right. So Murder describes Uncle Clifford like funnel cake at the fair, like an eclipse, like a 1 in a million type circumstance. Just amazing. But he tells him, but I screwed it up as I do everything else. I jacked that up. So yeah. And Teak tells him like, yeah, you seem to have a habit of doing that. And they just kind of have that moment where Murder touches Teak's hand in a little bit of exchange of intimacy, and he's like, listen, don't do that. You ain't got to touch. You ain't got to do this. And but he does absolve him of being upset with him. He tells him like, listen, you're forgiven. You moved on. We're good. You're forgiven. And it's Teak is kind of, he's wrapping things up. He is he's making amends. If you are of certain spiritual beliefs, you believe like when people are getting close to the end, they try to wrap things up, by seeing the people that are important, giving out apologies, doing all these things to sew up their affairs, not just by their own hands, whether it's by sickness or however they're going to perish. Some people believe that, and I think this is where Teak is. He's forgiven him. He's going to go back to his childhood home a little bit here later in the episode. Just like I said, the best day ever. Giving out forgiveness, just being the happiest he's ever been in his life. And by way of what his life has been, this is probably the best day of his life, honestly. All right. So Keyshawn is looking, waiting for Derek to leave, and she has boxes packed. She had a gun stashed away. She leaves her phone on the table. Like, she took every precaution to make sure her and the kids was gonna make a clean sweep to get away from this mofo. And she gets the kids in the car and she go to crank it, but the motherfucker won't crank. Goddamn car won't crank because he done took the battery out. And that took the wind out of her sails. She unpacked them kids, went back in the house, went back into that situation yet again to wait for Derek to get back to do the same shit again. Now, as for me, just me. Everybody don't respond to shit the same way. If it were me and I'd have went to that car and realized it wasn't no battery in there, when I tell you I'd have put Peter and Paul on pavement, as in my left and right foot, I'd have got the fuck. I would have walked. Me and my kids would have walked from here to Chattahoochee, then to go back. There would be nothing that would have got me back. You were so close, dog. I'm getting passionate. You were out. The kids was packed. I'd have left that goddamn diaper bag. Me and them kids, I'd have scrapped them things to me like bombs, and I'd have got the fuck. I'd have got ghosts. He'd have came to the house, it'd have been on fire, and I'd have been gone. It would have been no more of nothing to come back to. But that kind of took all the fight out of her, and she went back in the house. They had to go back inside. All right. Teak and Murder pull up to a gas station, and Teak is so removed from small everyday things that he doesn't even know how to put in gas. He asked Murder, like, how do you do this? He doesn't know how to put gas in a car. And this is, it's the layers of Teak. And I wish it was more than one episode, but we get everything about Teak pretty much like we got everything about Keyshawn last episode. And this kind of solidified it for me that he's so institutionalized, like even the small things, like regulating your emotion, a small emotion. Somebody blew the horn at Murder in this episode, and he goes berserk. But I'm gonna get to that. But just the concept of putting gas in a car, which lets you know like the majority of his life has been spent in institutions, which further tells me like his hopelessness, his feeling like this is it for him, like this is the pinnacle of his existence. It's reasonable when you look at his entire lifeline, like this is it. Ain't really nothing else he can do. And I'm gonna further confirm that in the episode. All right, so as they're sitting there, Murder hears his song on the radio, and they standing on the car, and he's looking up, and so Murder's on top of the car, and Teak is looking up again as if he has seen Jesus himself. Like Murder is his God. Murder is his pinnacle of existence, and his song is on the radio. He done gifted him a car. Like everything is really just happening for him. And what I think is now that Murder has garnered the success and he knows that murder's going to be fine, he can leave peacefully. That's what I think. That's what I think. That's what I think. That's what I think. And sometimes that is people's lot in life. That's it. That's their goal, just to get here and make sure one person is straight and go on. Cycle of life. All right. So Teak is standing there looking like a proud wife, like just looking up, and then some dude ruins the moment because they are literally holding up the gas station, like holding up the pump, and this man don't know murder from a can of paint. He's like, listen, bam, bam, can I get some gas? Is y'all gonna get gas or no? And like I said, Teak goes crazy. He's trying to get to this man like a ravenous dog. He's like, look, I'll break your face. You don't talk to him like that. Like, he going crazy. He going ham. And Murder holds him off. He's like, man, it's not that deep. Like, let's just go. Like, something that small, he wasn't able to regulate. Like, it didn't, like, murder didn't justify a horn being blown at you. However, in these Americas, it has. But typically, it shouldn't, shall I say. All right. We down at the Pink, and Whisper is Whisper and Roulette, they get into the money as they normally do. And Whisper seems to be getting a little bit outshined. The girls are just doing their thing. Somebody named Terrence. Terrence is the guy that got the fellatio from Roulette early on. And he comes back and he wants now he wants Whisper. But he's willing to give her $2,000 hold on. So he's like, listen, what's that girl name? Like, put me on. I'm trying to pay her 2 racks just to go downtown on her. And Roulette is like, wait a minute, you gonna give her 2 stacks just to go down on her? And I had to get on my knees for 1,000. Like, what the fuck? But I'm gonna hook you up. I guess I'm gonna hook you up. So that I guess that kind of showed her, like, basically how he valued her. I guess he put Whisper at a higher value, maybe because of her light eyes or her skinny body or her white complexion. You know how that shit go. I ain't even finna get into all that. But moving right along. Yeah, so she gonna hook it up. We are at Coach's and the girls are drinking, getting comfortable, and he is just in a dreamland. He's just living his best life, so he think. And Fallon hasn't stopped thinking about her, and he and there making some Viagra milkshake. All right, and he and there making a Viagra milkshake, and Fallon is just all over Mercedes, and she was like, listen, like, he can't know we've been together, like, he's not gonna like that. And Fallon's like, I don't even care no more. But she was like, listen, we need to play it off a little bit better, like, he might not like this, like, come on, let's do better. And so Mercedes is looking like, I'm about over this. Like, basically, like, having to lie to Coach, even though he the one paying. And Fallon is basically infatuated with her at this point. And so it's like, girl, I'm ready to get this over with. Like, this is costing me way more than I signed up for, basically. Because she only signed up to be with Coach. Fallon was just a casualty that happened to be there. Autumn shows up to this mansion, a masquerade ball, and Andre is addressing the crowd, and he's pushing for the casino to come to Chucalista so he can redistribute the wealth, among the lower class residents, all these campaign promises that people make. And Autumn asked the question from the crowd, like, what makes you think prosperity for all is possible? And he said, by way of me being up on this podium, like, I was born to a drug addicted mother. My father was dead by the time I was 7. I really should have been a statistic, but Tydell just got me to Morehouse, by way of his care, his concern, and his coin. And I intend to extend that same care to the Chucalisians. And Kyle he is seething. He hates that she is even alive. He hates Autumn. And so he's wondering how you got in here. She gave a fake name. And Kyle ushers her right on out the door. So she'll find her way back in, but we'll get into that in a minute. Back at the club, Roulette's looking salty because Whisper is making money, and with the dude that she had to give head to earlier, and so it's gonna give jealousy between those two at some point, I'm sure. So that will, that'll we'll get into that later. I guess that'll happen in another episode. All right, Coach, Fallon, and Mercedes are getting down with the get down. And Fallon and Mercedes are a bit more into each other than he is comfortable with. So he gets upset and he jumps back out of the situation because he done figured out that they done hunched on each other before. And he claims that Mercedes done turned his wife out. After 19 years, she ain't never been interested in no girl. And Fallon admits, like, listen, I've been liking girls the same amount of time you've been liking girls. You just haven't bothered to notice because you've been so busy having your own fun. Like what about my fun? What about my happiness? And Mercedes chimes in like, yeah. What about her happiness? What about her fun? And he's like, listen, girl, get out. Ain't nobody even talking to you. You know, turn my wife out. I don't even want to deal with you. And so they getting into it, and he's literally trying to drag her out. And Mercedes is like, listen, I'm not going nowhere. You owe me 40 more stacks, bro. Like, what you mean? We got a contract. And he trying to skip out on pay. He's like, listen, I ain't owe you nothing. Y'all done broke my heart. Like, I ain't doing this. So Fallon, all that big talk she was doing 2 minutes before, she done hung her head and gave Mercedes her shoes. And like, listen, basically she didn't fight no more, even though Mercedes stood up and chimed in order for him to hear what you got to say. You didn't reciprocate that. So he takes his money back and Mercedes leaves empty-handed. That's cool, but it could not have been me because I had performed my services. So what you were going to do, you're going to give me my $40K. You're going to give me my 40,000 goddamn dollars, or I was going to tear up $40,000 worth of shit in this penthouse. Very easy to do. Or stole $40,000 worth of things. I was not leaving empty-handed is what I'm saying. If it came with a little bit of jail time, that's cool. But I wasn't going to leave without nothing. All right. Okay. Duffy runs into Roulette, asks her what's wrong, chatting her up, called her beautiful, blah, blah, blah. They kissing. Blah. All right. So Keyshawn is sitting in the dark with that pistol she had earlier, waiting on Derek to get back. And it's pointed directly at the door. But she chickens out and she hides it as he's unlocking the door. So they have a small talk and everybody's happy that she's home, including him. Obviously she's not because the girl is miserable. Because she knows she was out and she had to come back. She's been out twice in these last few episodes. Like by way of being on the tour, she was out. I know things happened and she had to come back home by way of Rome. But she was out earlier that day with the kids. She just couldn't leave because he took the battery out the car. All right. And you know what? I just had a thing. Derek just took that battery out the car. Well, maybe not just. He took that battery out maybe while she was on tour because she just went to the store to get diapers, which was before the tour. So maybe a couple weeks, maybe. Either way, you took it out after you realized like I went to Dollar Tree or wherever she went. It was recent. It was what I'm saying. You recently took my damn battery out of my car, which means I'd have recently pistol whipped your ass, but I digress. All right. So Murder and Teak. All right. So in this scene, Murder and Teak are riding around, like I said, just in the hood, just passing time. And they stop by a house. He asked, Murder to stop him by a house. He want to go get something. And Murder thought it was to get some herbals, to buy some herbals. So he walks into this house and he's walking around. Meanwhile, Murder is outside on FaceTime and he's talking to Wardy, and Wardy's like, listen, this dude is too hostile. He's too wild. He got too much going on. He can't come back on the road. And Murder's like, listen, I can't fight him. Like, he just got out. Like, I legit owe this man my life, essentially. I owe him. I can't fire him. I understand. Like, I feel you. You got to go to bat for this man literally killed somebody for you. I think he killed the man that stabbed him. Like, he legit will. But that can also prove to be dangerous. I see what Wardy is saying because Teak is feverishly protective of Murder. Like any little thing and he will snap your head off your body. This is how passionate he is about Murder. From a loyalty standpoint, from their little gang affiliation standpoint, and from a romantic standpoint. There's too many layers that could come between that, and that's gonna convolute the business. So I understand the business side, Wardy, and I understand the personal side, Murder. But by the end of this episode, it's not even gonna be up for discussion. But we're gonna get there. All right. So they have that conversation. And Wardy mentions, how Rome is dead. And yeah, it's funny how he OD'd. And Murder's looking like, how you know he OD'd? I didn't see that published anywhere. And Ward is like, listen, I handles it all. Like, if you want me to fire Teak for you, that's cool. I'm good at getting shit done, basically. And Murder's like, what do you mean? What did you get done? And the goddamn phone dies. The phone dies, so they never finished the conversation. I'm sure it's going to come up at some point, but he didn't finish it in that moment. Wardy goes in this house, and it is a mess. It is a trap house of sorts. He starts walking around just looking through every room, and you kind of see some unruly kids. You see someone who looks like they may be high, very, very, very high, or overdosing. Like, there's a lot happening in this house. Like I said, trap house-ish. And so he starts hearing voices in that house, and he hears a woman screaming, kids screaming, just a bunch of noise. And what it is he's having a vision, because this used to be his house. So he's going through the house, and he sees a little boy in the closet with blood on him, which we later learn is him. And Murder comes in and snaps him out of it and hands him his gun. He was like, why would you come to the band up? Why would you come to the trap without your gun? He was like, oh man, I forgot. But I'm gonna go ahead and go. He really wasn't looking for weed. He was looking for something else. Now, I don't think we learned in this episode what the something else was, or if this was, again, another piece of closure for him. He just walked through that home his final time. Because as we'll learn later on, his destiny, he was supposed to perish in that house and did not. All right, so Murder said, listen, it doesn't matter what went on in that house. We're good. Like, we're never going back. Literally, like, we this close to making it out the hood. Like, we're good, bro. Like, just come on, let's go. Let's get out of here. All right, so Autumn is outside smoking, and Miss Batson arrives, and Autumn is trying to find. That's her way in. She apologizes to the lady for the loss of her husband, which I assume is recently, and Miss Batson is like, shit, I ain't. You sorry, but I'm not. She's an older white woman, prestigious white woman. So Autumn, she thinks Autumn is the cigar girl, and she tells her, girl, go get me a drink. And Autumn, that's her in. She's back in. And it seems to be a pretty important meeting going on in the card room where Andre and some more people, Andre, Kyle, and some other dude is. So the lady has told Miss Batson told Autumn, like, hey, you my right girl, you're my right hand girl for tonight, so stick with me. And so basically she goes in there and she suns everybody in that room. There's 3 men in the room, and she's the only woman, and she has commanded the whole room. Like, Kyle, what are you doing in here? Like, talking shit to him, and his head is between his tails, and I'm sure Autumn loved that. And then she was kind of getting on Andre a little bit. Like I said, commanding the room while all these men are in here. She's just in here telling them what's gonna happen, what it is and what it ain't gonna be. All right, so she tells everybody's just talking, and Autumn chimes up and she tells Mrs. Batson, like, do you know that this man only offered me $40,000 for the pink? And she was like, listen, don't pay him no mind, because his job is gone. So I don't know if that means he don't even really matter because he's a low man on the totem pole, or he's essentially fired at this moment. And she was like, all I'm asking is that they pay me what is truly worth, $10 million. And she's like, Miss Savage, don't worry about it, which I think is her fake name that she gave them, another fake name she gave them to get in. Don't worry about it. His job is gone. And it's as dead as her husband. Don't even worry about it. I think I can come up with a much better deal for you. And so Andre is like, before you leave, Miss Batson, I know you're about to leave. I know the cigar smoke is too much, but what about my endorsement? And she was like, I don't give a damn who runs. Whoever runs is anybody. I'm going to endorse you, but as long as that doesn't impede my casino. And so we agree. Everybody got what they want. We're good. All right, so Uncle Clifford is giving Ernestine her blood sugar check because something's going on. She is pouring, sweating, and in the meantime, she is just talking trash. She's like, just hurry up and kill the Autumn, please. I'm sick of her. So her blood sugar is good, but she's burning up. She's coughing. Toy from the club is also sick and coughing, and Uncle Clifford talking to her, and he was like, I knew there wasn't no damn allergies. So it appears that Toya and Miss Ernestine may have the COVID, and that may not fare well for Miss Ernestine, because obviously she has blood sugar issues. She's blind. I'm sure she has a myriad of other health issues that comes with being an older black lady. So this might not fare well for Miss Ernestine. I hope, I don't want to say it, but I hope she don't die from the COVID in this season. All right. Andre's on the phone talking to Kyle, and it's like, listen, it ain't no need to be too mad at Autumn. She got what she wanted. I got what I wanted. We're good. Kyle don't care. Kyle hates her. But Autumn is in these people's house sitting in the dark, in Andre's house sitting in the dark, and she speaks up. She's like, well, I think I did pretty good. Blah, 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 blah. So I'll call you back, Kyle. Andre's like, listen, I'll call you back. why do you just take what you want and you don't care you're hurting the process? Get out, Haley. And she was like, and he's like, I just want you to know I let you win at the auction. She was like, yes, I know, because you have the power. You're a powerful man. Like, tell me what to do. Command me. Tell me what to do. And he tells her to get naked. And then they commence to doing what grown people do. All right. Okay, so this is where shit, gets a little more serious. So Murder and Teak are sitting in the car, just vibing, singing songs, just rapping, just freestyling. And he sings a song that Murder slid him while he was in solitary, because Murder would write raps and lyrics out and slide them to him while he was in the hole, which is segregation, essentially. And I think he was in there, like I said, for defending Murder. And he tells Murder, like, you haven't been the same since you went in that hole. And basically Murder low-key felt a little bit responsible for him ending up in there. And he tells Murder, he's like, listen, that's not my first time in the hole, essentially. That's not my first time in the dark. Years earlier, his mama stabbed, killed all of his siblings while he hid in the closet. And so that vision of that child in the closet was him. His mama, I think he was 7 years old, if I'm not mistaken. His mama killed all of his siblings, and he was in the closet just hearing it, just enduring it, and there was nothing he could do. Powerless. There was nothing, he was a kid, there was nothing he could do. All right. So he said, the devil and I became best friends in that closet that day, and we've been friends ever since, which I guess lends itself to how his life has turned out. All right. So, he tells Murder, like, I was the only one that made it out. Like I should have died in that house too. Like, it's crazy. So there's a little bit of survivor's remorse that he's having to live with also. And so Murder's like, listen, we're going on tour tomorrow. It's okay. We out the hood. After the day, we out the hood. Like, come on, we good. Stop. Don't be so sad about it. Don't be so hard on yourself. And he tells Murder, he said, you can have tomorrow and I'll have tonight. Again, another sign of Teak not gonna make it past this episode. All right, so he's trying to drop Murder off, and Murder is like, I'm not gonna let you sit with your thoughts and let them eat you up. I'm not leaving. Like, we're gonna sit here. So I'm gonna come back. I ain't gonna come. I'm gonna just finish it. So they're in there arguing, and he puts the gun to his own head, and he's like, listen, get out the car. I just want you out the car. Like, this is the end of my road. This is it for me. I appreciate everything. We're good. But he tells Murder, he says he is tired. He cannot go on. He is hopeless, and this is it. And Murder tells him, like, I owe you tomorrow. I owe you my life. Like, don't do this. Like, you don't got to go out like this. And he's like, I see it for you, even if you don't see it for yourself. And he tells Murder, like, just let me go. Just let me go. And he pulls the trigger. He pulls the trigger. While Murder is sitting next to him, Teak ends it for himself. And while I don't know, I can see how he got to this point. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's do this real quick. You watch your mom murder your siblings. Like he said, these three teardrops on my face are for my siblings. It's not because I killed 3 people in jail. I got more bodies than that. So he's been fighting. He's been killing. He has been tortured his whole life. Now, I know one bad thing that happens to you should not, or shouldn't dictate your whole entire life. But you're growing up poor, inner city, no resources, like it happens every day, and it was bound to happen in the situation. Like I said, he saw his mom murder all of his siblings. He's probably been in and out of jail since then, robbing, stealing, killing, like doing whatever he had to do to survive. Then he comes in contact with Murder in prison, and this is his little bit of sunshine in what is hell. You're in segregation the majority of your time in there. There's little to no human interaction. He don't have basic life skills. Like, I feel like he was doomed. He was doomed no matter how it went. If he didn't do it, somebody else was going to do it by way of the way that he lives his life, which is always extreme, which is always willing to fight, which is raw at all times. So it was kind of bound to happen. But I guess I take solace in the fact, like, Murder gave him like the best day of his life by way of giving him a car. I don't think he's probably never had a car. Go on a proper date with him. He probably always wanted that. Like, just giving him everything that he needed in that one day for him to make amends and take solace in his decision. Yeah. So as much as Murder wanted to see it for him, he didn't see it for himself, and made the decision. So, my boy Teak is gone. He up out of here. All right. So Murder stumbles out of the car and he has blood all over him. Mercedes, at the end of the episode, Mercedes is sitting at the table, like probably going over how in the hell she let 40 stacks slip through her fingers, and Terica comes stumbling in the door. She is crying and she is hysterical, and she done pulled out a pregnancy test. So now the cycle of teenage motherhood continues by way of Terica now being pregnant. So that's going to add a little bit more frustration to the Shell Mercedes parenthood of it all. All right. Ernestine is coughing and she's still sweating, and you can tell her energy is low. She answers the door and she is sick as a dog. And she's also asking for her father, which is also, if you believe in this type of thing, asking for people that have passed on. My assumption is her father's already passed on. Asking for people that have already passed on is a sign like you ain't got that long left. So Ernestine is like not looking good for your girl. Anyway, but it's little Murder. He is covered in blood. He's not okay. And he falls into Uncle Clifford's arms. He tells him like, I'm not good. I'm not good. So yeah, that is the end of season 2, episode 6. I'm sure everybody's just gonna be reeling from Teak's suicide. Keyshawn still having to be stuck with Derek. Mercedes now having to navigate potential grandmotherhood and how that new dynamic is gonna look, if it's gonna look anyway, because it seems like she may also try to pressure Terica to abort, but we'll see what happens. So that has been it. Let me know what you think about the episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.